But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness. But unto them which are called both Jews and Greeks, that is, Gentiles, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 23 through 24. The story of the Bible is the story of Jesus Christ and Him crucified. Every sacrifice in the Bible points toward that coming event. The entirety of the tabernacle and temple, with all its furnishings, ceremonies, and rituals, all and without exception point to Christ, in either His atoning, mediatorial, or intercessory work. In fact, the entirety of the law pointed to Christ in some manner. That's why Paul said, we preach Christ crucified. He didn't merely say we preach Christ, but rather we preach Christ crucified. Many presently are preaching Christ, but within itself, that is not enough. Why isn't it enough? The virgin birth of Christ was absolutely necessary. However, had it stopped there, not one single soul would have been redeemed. The perfect life of Christ was an absolute necessity, but had it stopped there, not one single soul would have been redeemed. The healings and miracles were an absolute necessity, but had it stopped there, not one soul would have been redeemed. Jesus had to go to the cross. The cross was ever His goal. Some 750 years before the fact, Christ said, I gave my back to the smiters, and my cheeks to them who plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and spitting. For the Lord God will help me, therefore shall I not be confounded. Therefore have I set my face like a flint, and I know that I shall not be ashamed. Isaiah chapter 50, verses 6 through 7. His face was set like a flint for the cross, meaning that He would not be deterred. The preaching of Christ crucified is the doctrine of the atonement. It is the very heart of the gospel. Remove that, and there is no gospel, but merely the ramblings of demented minds. That is why Christ crucified a stumbling block to the Jews. The Jews knew that anyone who was hung on a tree for committing a dastardly crime was cursed by God. Deuteronomy 21, 22 through 23. Jesus was hung on a cross. So in the mind of the Jews, He was cursed by God. Consequently, He could not be the Messiah, or so they thought. For how could one who was cursed by God be the Messiah? Christ was, however, not cursed by God, but rather was made a curse, which is altogether different. Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. He had to be made a curse because He had committed no crime or sin of any nature, ever. The reason His death had to be on the cross is because He had to pay for the very worst sins that could ever be imagined. He therefore had to die even as the worst sinner would die, but not because of any sin that He Himself had committed, because as stated, He never committed any. In effect, He actually became a sin offering. But all of this was a stumbling block to the Jews. Regarding the Greeks, that is the Gentiles, the idea of a naked man hanging on a wooden gibbet, thereby redeeming the entirety of mankind, was in their thinking foolishness. Those problems remain even unto this hour. But in spite of all that, if Christ crucified is faithfully preached, whether to Jew or Gentile, to those who accept Christ, He becomes the power of God and the wisdom of God. No other message will bring about these twin attributes. We must preach Christ crucified. That is, Christ crucified. We must. But that must be the underlying foundation of all that we believe and preach.